Hey, I'm Eunice Elliott. I'm super excited to not just be a woman, but I'm super excited to be a Black woman. And in celebration of Black women for Women's History Month, I'd like to share a little bit about my story and hopefully what I've been able to learn so far, because I'm always looking to learn more, could possibly serve you in some way or capacity. So I grew up in a place called Alabama. Have you heard of it? And so in Alabama, as a little Black girl, I wasn't shown a whole lot of things that I could be growing up in the 70s, 80s. But I had a mom who always told me that I was the most wonderful thing in the world. But she also let me know that no one cares about that. And so she always taught me and my siblings about how to love ourselves, how to respect ourselves, and how to demand respect from others. And it wasn't so much about, hey, you're going to respect me. It was just how we carried ourselves. And so even though we grew up with a single mom, we had a time that we grew up in the projects. We had a time that we were on welfare. My mom never let us believe that our circumstances were who we were. And she would always correct us. She would say, you ain't po. Now you are poor, but she let us know it was a difference. So I remember growing up and going school shopping, and I would pick out clothes that I wanted my mom to buy me. And she would say, you know what? That's too expensive. We can't afford that. She said, but you have good taste and you can't buy taste. So one day when you do have money and you do have resources, I know that you'll be getting nice things. And so even though I couldn't get that thing, I still had a natural confidence in my taste. I knew that I liked nice things. And so as I have matriculated into adulthood, I've had the opportunity to use a lot of the wisdom my mom imparted on me as a child in my everyday life, in my personal life, in my professional life. And people always ask me, how are you the way you are? Why are you like that? And it's because of my mama. And so I want to share with you today some more of what my mom shared with me as a young person. And I'm blessed to still have my mom here with me today. And I promise you, she still keeps sharing jewels with me. I have appreciated so much of what my mom has been able to offer me is that I actually wrote an entire book called 10 Things Your Mama Never Told You, But Mine Did: Unconventional Wisdom to Navigate a World That Cares Nothing About You or Your Feelings. And that's a real thing. First things first, nobody cares about you like that. Chapter 1 of this book is you are so special. But remember, you ain't special. That's what my mom would tell me. And she would tell my siblings that as well. And the point of that was that there's not another one of me in the world. You've never seen another Eunice Elliott. It could be someone else named Eunice Elliott. It could be another Black woman. It could be another 45-year-old woman. It could be another woman from Alabama, but you've never seen Eunice Elliott like you see me. And so when you realize that you're the only one in the world, first of all, you start to value yourself as if you are one of a kind. If they found a rare jewel or a painting in a museum or an animal that's almost extinct, there's a certain value and prestige attached to that because it's the only one. You're the only one. So attach that prestige and value to yourself. Now, the sad part is no one cares that you are you. So you still have to work really hard. You still have to be a good person. You still have to be prepared, and you still have to show up and do what you say you're going to do. So that's what my mom would say. You are so very special. But remember, you ain't special. If it happened to them, it could probably happen to you. If that was their experience, you would probably have a similar experience. So even though I had a confidence in myself, I also knew that I was not better than anyone. I was not lesser than anyone. And it also causes me to respect other people in the same way. Another chapter in the book is titled, The Worst Thing That Can Happen Is You Have to Do It. So I've always been a very creative, curious person. And so as a child, I would have these big, bright ideas. And I would say to my mom, oh, I'm thinking about this. Or, oh, it'd be cool if my class did that. And my mom would say, well, write it up and present it to your teacher. Worst thing to happen is she says yes, and you got to do it. And so it was this idea of confidence that I had in my ideas because my mom would tell me, share them, tell somebody your ideas. And so not only would I learn as a young person that my ideas were important and they mattered, I also learned that they could happen. And so I just grew up thinking if I could think it, I could do it. If I could think it up, I can really put together a plan and I can make it happen. Now, the reason why she would say the worst thing that can happen is that you got to do it is then that means you got to do it. You got to show up. You got to be prepared. You got to do what you say you're going to do. So don't put it out there if you're not going to do the work. More than likely, it's going to add to your workload. More than likely, it's going to add to your responsibilities, and you have to show up and show out. So don't put it out there if you're not ready to do it. In the chapter of that book, what I realized is that a lot of times I would have ideas in business meetings or at jobs I had, and I'd be thinking, I don't want to say this idea because I don't want more work. So I would just be like, I'm just going to keep it to myself. But now that I'm an entrepreneur and I work for myself, I realize the worst thing that can happen is not that I have to do it. The worst thing that could happen is that I never did it. So I have all these ideas that I have that I really want to do. And now I'm very attached to getting them all done. Another chapter, now there's 10 chapters, so I'm only just going to highlight a few. Another chapter is called Never Dim Your Light. If you're watching this, you more than likely have tried to be a lesser version of yourself, to be in a relationship, to maintain a friendship, to just not be the person that everybody always says, oh, you're so extra all the time. You were born to be extra. Like, don't ever dial back your shine to make other people comfortable, because the people that really can benefit from your shine, they will glow and they'll be inspired to shine. My mom told me as an adult, she said, I remember when you started to dim your light. And I'm like, wait, what? She said, it was when you wanted friends in high school. And once she pointed it out to me, I realized from elementary school and middle school, I had no problem being the teacher's pet. I had no problem being the first to stand up in assembly and ask questions. But when I got to high school, I started wanting different friend groups. I started liking boys. And so I didn't want to be the one that was always doing the most. And so I wanted to blend in. I wanted to have a little group of friends that felt comfortable around me. And as I grew up, I would be around people that I felt comfortable around, even though I knew I was different. And again, not better than, just different than. And so as I continued to get different jobs, I would see how other people would show up. And I remember having a coworker, Eunice. She was just this gorgeous woman from the islands, had this beautiful short haircut, dressed to the nines every day. And I just felt like she was the most beautiful, well put together person I had ever met. This was in my 20s, and she owned her condo in her 20s. I didn't know you could buy a condo in your 20s. This is how basic I was at that time. And I remember one day we were out to lunch on our lunch break. We worked together, and someone came up and said something to us, and they walked away. And she said to me, she said, I always feel so gray when I'm around you because you're purple. And I was like, what? She says, when you're talking to people, it's like you're purple. People gravitate to you. You always know what to say. You always have something funny to share, and I always feel great. And I'm looking at her, and she's the most fabulous, wonderful person. But what that taught me was you don't realize how people consume you. And even when you're trying to dial it back, you are meant to shine. You are meant to glow. I actually have an alarm set on my phone that goes off a few times a day that says, you are purple. Stay purple. Be as bright purple as you can, because you're going to inspire and motivate other people and enjoy being around other people's purple as well. Don't look for anyone to be lesser than they were meant to be, because we're all meant to shine and glow, particularly Black women. So those are a couple of chapters in this book. You can get it on Amazon. You can also get it on my website, euniceelliott.com. And I love to share my story, because I realized everybody wasn't blessed to have someone to speak life into them at all times. And so as I grew up and I realized everyone did not have that opportunity, I thought I would offer it to anyone who right now has not given themselves permission to just be dope. Trust your dopeness. And if you are doing it right, it will not look like anything we've ever seen before. So I hope you can take that and continue to shine and be purple.